Hi, my name is Kelly Farley, and I'm a grieving father. My loss happened over about 18-month period, and there was two very significant losses that occurred to me. In 2004, I lost my daughter Katie, and my impact was pretty severe, although I tried to hide it for quite some time, probably almost 18 months. While my wife was struggling with the pain, I tried to be a guy, I guess that's the best way I can describe it, is I tried to toughen up, be strong, act like nothing happened. But I found out pretty quickly that that wasn't the way to deal with it. When I say quickly, I'll say about a year and a half, about 18 months before I realized that I'd probably caused myself a lot more harm than actually just dealing with it. It wasn't until that 18-month period I started to wake up with pretty severe, what I would call depression. This was something I'd never experienced before. I was always somebody that was pretty upbeat, set goals for myself, achieved them. Thought that's how you stayed away from depression in life, is to set goals, have accomplishments, celebrate the small steps. But unfortunately, I found out the hard way that with me waking up with depression every day, it wasn't something I could just shake off. It was around that time I lost we found out we were getting ready to lose our second child, Noah, and that was in June of 2006. Both losses had caught up with me. Shortly after that, I called in sick to work, but my call-in was not, hey, I'm taking a day off or 2 days off. I ended up taking about 12 weeks off. I actually called into work and said, hey, I'm not going to be back in for a while. I don't know how long it's going to be. But, if my job is there when I get there, great. If not, I understand. But it was time I needed to take for myself, time that I needed to just kind of absorb what has happened to me, try to absorb the full impact. It was during that time where I decided that, at least for me, it was important to seek some help and start talking about what I had gone through. Seeking help at that time meant going to support groups, allowing others around me to help me, and that was more so just, if they wanted to talk about it, or if they asked me questions about it, rather than just shut them down or shut them out, or shut myself down, was to engage in the conversation. And I was fortunate enough to have many angels around me that were there for me, that would listen, would check in on me, to make sure I was doing okay. Now, keep in mind, these are all people that I had never met before. These are all new, what I call friends in my life. The other ones had kind of disappeared. Not necessarily by design. I think they just couldn't handle seeing me, who was pretty much the life of the party prior to everything happening, just be a completely different person. I didn't smile. I had lost severe amount of weight, couldn't eat. I found myself just in complete despair. But I started to seek the counselor, started to seek help. And once I started telling my story and talking about the loss of my daughter Katie and then my son Noah, I realized I was starting to feel better. The pain started to lift just a little bit. And it took many more, I'll say, months, almost years, to get back to somewhat a resemblance of who I was before. I think the biggest thing that I need to understand, or I wish I would have understood, is that you can't go back to this person you were before after a major life impact. It's just not possible. You've been changed. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's just the way it is. And so I had to come to grips with accepting that I was no longer the type A personality that could take on a lot of responsibility, set a lot of goals, be an overachiever. I would say one of the biggest things that helped me to get back to, I guess, feeling better, on the path of feeling better, is the fact I acknowledged that what I was dealing with wasn't, I guess it wasn't just me. I wasn't alone. A lot of other people have gone through what I'd gone through and survived it, which was important for me to understand and believe. I would say my biggest turning point for me was realizing I had the power to help other people through the loss of a child, particularly men. As part of that, I started the Grieving Dads Project, and also eventually ended up writing the book called Grieving Dads to the Brink and Back. And that book was designed really to help men understand what they're dealing with and realize that it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness to cry. It's not a sign of weakness that you can't get back to the guy you were before. It's not possible, as I mentioned earlier. But I would say for me, that would be the biggest turning point. And to be honest with you, I interviewed thousands of men for my book. And the one core message I guess I could take away from that is the men that are doing just okay, surviving, and I guess in some aspects thriving, they found a purpose. And the ones that are still very stuck in their grief are still trying to process everything. They haven't found something that's bigger than themselves to focus their energy on or their pain on, to honor their child. I'd say that for me, that was the biggest thing. And a lot of the men I've interviewed, that seems to be the key component to surviving this.